Well, howdy there, folks. James coming to you from the Political Friar. I created this little channel so I could respond more quickly to the news of the day instead of having to wait and research and write a long article. Well, we've got some news today. We've got a new war in the Middle East, and war is the correct term. This isn't an incursion, this isn't a little conflict. This is order of magnitude greater, and it's sad. Well, what happened? Well, what happened was Hamas, the militant group that is the effective government of the Gaza Strip, launched a military incursion into southern Israel. They captured some towns, they captured some soldiers, and they captured some civilians, and they killed a bunch more. They followed this along with rocket attacks, maybe even measuring in the thousands, that will inevitably kill even more. This is, not to put too fine a point on it, a terrorist attack. Hamas is a terrorist organization, and they use terrorist tactics to carry out their political goals. Now, there are many who are going to say, well, Israel kind of asked for it, and I'm not actually going to get into that particular cycle at this point. I personally feel like that's a bit of blaming the victim, but Israel's got a long and complicated history with the Palestinians in which it is by no means blameless. But do Israeli civilians deserve this? No. And neither do Gazan civilians. The big bad guy here is Hamas. Let's never forget that. Now, that means that we treat Hamas as actors. They have agency. They are human. They are not a wild animal to be tiptoed around or appeased. We have to put the blame where it belongs, on the adult humans in the Gaza Strip that started this. Why? Why did they start this? Well, that base, they started it because they want to wipe Israel off the map. That's what their founding document says, and it turns out I'm willing to believe people when they tell me who they are. Why now? Well, more interesting. Why now? Israel and Saudi Arabia have been tiptoeing around a rapprochement, and a rapprochement that it should include the Palestinians, but there's some sense that maybe it won't. I don't know. These talks are dark and secret, and we only get the edges of what's going on. But if there was some risk that the Saudis would, at least from Hamas's point of view, sell them out, maybe this is the time to put a little demonstration out there about what might happen if Hamas was cast adrift, lost from any of its restraining allies, such as Egypt or Saudi Arabia. It also might be a little more simple. Hamas has launched attacks of one level or another, once every 18 months or so since 2007 when it took over the Gaza Strip. Its raison d'etre, as we know, is to fight Israel. Well, they got to fight Israel from time to time, and that also implies a certain escalation. You fight them hard, and then harder, and then harder, and then hardest. And so this may very well just be domestic politics of the Gaza Strip as they were slipping out. I could also be even more practical. There are dozens of prisoners in Israeli jails that Hamas would like to have back. Well, the way to do that, as Israel has proved, is to capture Israelis. Israel regularly will trade one Israeli for dozens of Palestinians. It could just be that simple. A simple grab of folks to get others who are imprisoned out. Well, Israel's not going to respond well to this. When I say war, I meant war. There will be a on the ground incursion into Gaza. It will kill hundreds, thousands. It will absolutely destroy the livelihood of many Gazan civilians who are victims of Hamas just as much as Israel. Well, maybe not as much. They do. There is the old idea that people deserve the governments that they get, but I still don't think that an individual civilian in the Gaza Strip deserves what's coming their way. That's what's coming their way, though. The real big question, though, is what's next? What happens between Gaza, Israel, Saudi Arabia, the United States next? And it's one that I don't have a great answer for. It's one of the sad realities of history that sometimes we have to wait and see. But I'll put a little guess out there based on what's happened in the past. What's likely to happen is Egypt will intercede, will talk with their allies, Israel, and don't pretend that Israel and Egypt aren't allies. They are. They'll talk to them and they'll moderate the effect. They'll put fences around what Israel can do, but they won't be able to stop it. It also is likely to, at least temporarily, derail any discussion of rapprochement between Saudi Arabia and Israel. It's not going to be timely. It's got to have to wait for this to die down and for memory to fade. So anybody who was hoping for that before, maybe a year or two from now, it's probably dashed. And if that's what Hamas was trying to do, well, mission succeeded. The bigger worries are what happens in the north. Does Hezbollah come in to aid Hamas as it did last time Israel and Hamas clashed? And does Iran use this useful crisis to do something silly? Well, we're just going to have to wait and see. Anyway, it's just my take. Let me know how I'm wrong in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell your friends, and visit politicalfriar.com. Thanks.